Hey everyone, and welcome to my vlog for the April 2024 Dewey's 24-hour readathon, where it is about 20 to 10, which means we're about 20 minutes away from the start time, which unfortunately also happens to be the start time of the coverage of today's Formula E race. So I'm going to be reading while watching motorsport. The first hour I should be able to focus mostly on my reading because it's all like lead up stuff, so I'll just have it on quietly. But it's Formula E. I can't miss Formula E. And there's another race tomorrow as well. So, and there is a lot of hockey tomorrow as well. So, yeah, I'm going to be doing a lot of reading with sport on. So I have been prepping. Like I said, it starts at 10 p.m, which is in about 20 minutes. I have done my groceries and picked up a lot of really fun snacks. I have baked as well. I made my favourite savoury muffins and I made fresh scones and I had raspberry jam and cream to go with them. Actually, I should have that first, I think. But so yeah, so I've baked. I've done dishes. I've sorted myself out. My back's actually not feeling too bad. Like it's not 100% yet, but I haven't needed a lot of heat packs today. Like I'm stiff, but I've been on the couch a lot of the time and I've been fine. There's been a few spasms in my neck and my shoulder blades, but nothing too long term. So hopefully that's a good sign that I'm going to be able to read without too much discomfort. I haven't actually done any official reading today at all. I've read fan fiction because I always read fan fiction. It's just like background noise in my life. But I haven't read any actual books today, so I'm all fresh. I'm all ready to go. I'm not sure how long I'm going to stay up. I mean, definitely until midnight because that'll be when the FE finishes around then. And probably a little bit longer. I'm probably going to set an alarm for maybe 7 o'clock tomorrow morning. Because I do need to get some sleep because my back will kill me if I don't. And my brain will kill me if I don't. But I've prepped. I've been sort of active in the Discord server for the readathon. I've posted a couple of things like my TBR and my snacks on Instagram, so I'm sort of all ready to go there. What's the first thing that I'm going to read? I'm probably going to stick with Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett first because I'm the furthest along in this one of all the ones that I've started. Yeah, I'm not halfway through yet, but I think I'm a good like 40% or something. Like, yeah, I'm over 140 pages in, so, and the book's like 315 pages if you don't include the snippet from book 2 that's at the end. So this is probably what I'm going to start with, which I'm really enjoying so far. I've been reading a chapter here and there all week. It's nice, it's fun, it's academics studying the Fae. It hasn't got too dramatic yet. I'm assuming it's about to get dramatic given where I am in the book. But so that's probably what I'm going to read first. Maybe if I'm lucky, I'll get it finished tonight with some dedicated reading. But we'll see how distracting I find the Formula E. But yeah, that's where I'm starting from in now about 15 minutes. Like I said, hopefully with some fresh scones with raspberry jam and cream. Yeah, so I guess I might check in before going to bed and tell you how far I've gone. We'll see how I feel. It's not going to be every hour because, like I said, for me. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty positive about this readathon. I have my fingers crossed. I'll get a lot of reading done. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Hey, it's nearly 1 a.m, so 3 hours into readathon, I have watched a Formula E race and finished Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett. So that was really fun. I read a lot of it. I was 142 pages in when I started the readathon, and it's 315 pages, so over 170 pages, I think, something like that. in less than 3 hours while watching a Fortnite race. So I'm quite pleased. It's finished. I really enjoyed it. On Storygraph, I rated it 4.5 stars. I won't go into too much detail because I'll obviously do a reading wrap up for the month in April, which there'll be more detail there. But I definitely want to read the second book at some point. It was fun, it was light, it was magical, a little bit of a romance, a lot of adventure and academics. So yeah, so I finished that. So since it's nearly 1 a.m, I am going to go to bed because my neck and shoulders are starting to get a little sore. So some sleep. I'm probably going to set my alarm for 7. I may not be entirely conscious before 8, but I might start reading before that, before I get up. But yeah, so I'll set my alarm for 7 and see how I feel. I might have to hit snooze a couple of times. There is a really important Penguins versus Bruins hockey game tomorrow morning, which I am actually getting broadcast. So there'll be lots of reading in front of hockey tomorrow. There are actually 3 games being broadcast, but the first 2 are at like 2 a.m. and 5 a.m. So I'm definitely not getting up for them. There's also the final of the NCAA college hockey being broadcast. Like there are 4 American hockey games being broadcast to me today, whatever. So weird. Why am I talking about hockey? Because I'm going to be watching the Penguins, and then later in the afternoon, Canberra's playing Perth again. Anyway, and there's another race, so I will be watching a lot of sport while reading tomorrow. But anyway, going to bed, starting to ramble, setting alarm for 7 a.m. Really liked this book. Good morning. I am showered and dressed. Woo! Even though my hair's still in yesterday's braids. So my alarm did go off at 7. It took me a good half hour to even get past the snooze button, and then I was kind of poking around on the internet. Apparently yesterday's FE race winner got disqualified overnight, so fun. But I started reading at 8, so and it's now about 8:45. So what I picked up was Small Miracles on my iPad by Olivia Atwater, which is I think a novella. Certainly, given the fact that I've read 14%, I started at 10% and I'm already up to 24% in like probably about half an hour, given that I've just gotten out of the shower as well. Yeah, I think it's a novella. It's sort of queer angels, fallen angels, temptations, family drama. So it does, however, have snarky footnotes, and as I have discovered since like Christmas, I do love a book with snarky footnotes. This is like my 3rd book since Christmas with snarky footnotes. So yeah, so that's what I am currently reading. I should probably try and find myself some sort of sustenance and read. I think the Pens game starts at 10, so I've got a little over an hour before that starts, and I'll read while I'm watching the Pens game. But yeah, so that's where I am at this morning. So there's like 13 hours left of Readathon. It finishes at 10 p.m, so I think that's 13 hours left. So still not quite halfway there. 10 o'clock, I guess, will be the halfway point. So I've done about 3.5 hours of actual reading, so that's not too bad. But yes, I need to go and find some juice and do some more reading. Okay, quick update because it's second intermission in the hockey game, which is not going our way. And I finished a book, so yay. Particularly when I was A, distracted, and B, yeah, my neck's getting a bit spasmy. It's not great. But I have finished reading, if you can see that on my iPad, Small Miracles by Olivia Atwater. So this is novella, I want to say. Definitely not a full novel. It's not long enough for that. It didn't take me that long to read it all. I was 10% in when I started it. this morning, and yeah, I finished it, so that's good. Really enjoyed it. It's lovely and queer and fun and family and sweet. And yeah, I'll do a proper review at my next wrap up probably. But yeah, definitely would read Olivia Atwater again. So that's good to know, given that I'm on a Discord server that she's part of. Not sure what I'm going to pick up next. Maybe the Elizabeth Barrett Browning poetry. Maybe issue 52 of Uncanny magazine. Something I can dip in and out of while I'm watching hockey. After which I might try and go for a very gentle walk and listen to an audiobook. But we'll see how we go. I also really need to eat something soon. I have eaten this morning one muffin. I might have some more muffins for lunch and it's gone. But you know me, I don't do particularly well with solid food in the morning. But it is that time. So yeah, that's where I'm at. Hey, so it's just hit 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There's 7 hours left of the readathon. And what I've been sort of doing bits and pieces here and there. So while I was having lunch, I read, I think, another 13 pages of my Elizabeth Barrett Browning poetry. I got to the end of the first book of Aurelie. Aurelie by itself, I think, is about 300 pages. So I'm going to be reading this poem for a long time. Keeping track of it's going to be fun. But yeah, so I did read about another 13 pages of that. I also read the first chapter, which is 12 pages, I think, of No Friend But the Mountain by Buruz Bokani. I'm not going to focus on this one because it deals with Manus Island prison, detention centre, whatever. So it's not going to be a fun read. Although the first chapter was very well written and just like smoothly slipped. Like there's a very almost lyrical style with sort of poems tucked in between paragraphs kind of thing. But yeah, I just wanted to get it started. I might read another couple of chapters at some stage, but I honestly just wanted to get started because I've got to read it over the next couple of weeks. And I also finished off my audiobook, so the last little bit over an hour of Dead Famous by Greg Jenner. I went for a little bit of a walk around the block, only one loop because my neck started to get really stiff quite early, and then just listened to the rest of it whilst puttering around the kitchen and eating a scone with jam and cream and playing computer games, just sort of listening to the last hour or so of this audio. So I've done that as well. Since I finished that, I've honestly been reading a little bit of fan fiction and just puttering around online a little bit for the last half hour. But yeah, I sort of feel like I don't want to settle down to one specific book right now. I mean, I've finished 3 books from my currently reading pile. That's pretty good. So I think what I might do is start issue 52 of Uncanny magazine on my Kindle, because that's short stories and essays and poetry. I might just continue reading through all of that, or I might pick up another novel. We'll see how I go. But yeah, I'm feeling a bit, how to describe it, antsy. I don't know, how well I'm going to actually settle down to one particular thing, but we'll maybe give Uncanny a go for the next hour or so. So it's 20 past 5, yeah. Still reading. There's like 4.5 hours to go. I'm 40% of the way through Uncanny magazine issue 52, which is actually 4 stories. So there was an Aliette de Bollard one, which I usually like her far future science fiction, but this one kind of felt like I was thrown into the middle of a story rather than, and I kind of found it very difficult to swim my way to the top. And there was a couple of other stories which didn't really have a huge impact on me. And then I've just finished a Fran Wilde one. You know how much I love Fran Wilde. This one's a bit creepy and involves birds and millinery and and harpies. Yeah. And it's an epistolary one, so it's put together through statements and letters and journal entries and stuff. So yes, that's where I'm up to. I'm thinking I'm probably going to finish Uncanny issue 52 at least. The qualifying formulary is in about 35 minutes, so that's going to distract me a bit. Also, coming up shortly at about the same time is the second Canberra Brave game of the weekend, so I'll be juggling that as well as reading. So I think sticking to something I can pick up and put down quite easily, so short stories and essays, is a good plan. Yeah, so I keep thinking I should be reading my mystery book because author of colour, but I'm just not in the mood. Just not in the mood. So let's get as much as I can cleared off the decks, and then maybe this week I will read that, or I'll read some before the end of the readathon, because there is still 4.5 hours left, and I don't think it's going to take me 4.5 hours to read the rest of Uncanny Magazine, particularly when the last 10% is usually thank yous, so which I skip. So yeah, I'm already a good chunk of the way through the actual substantial short stories, so that's good. Yeah, that's what I'm going to keep doing, I think. Reading this and switching between this and a little bit of fan fiction, just because it gives my brain a little bit of a break, because I'm not actually reading anything new. I'm reading old stuff that I've read before, so it just sort of lets me have a little bit of a break where I don't have to think so hard. Right, so it's 8 o'clock in the evening, 2 hours left to Readathon. I've eaten, I've hydrated, I finished reading Uncanny Magazine 52. I just read right the way through it. I did skim a bit towards the end because none of the essays or poetry was really my thing, and so I sort of skim read because also I am getting very tired. Not just my brain, although my brain is getting very tired, but my neck is also getting very tired. So after I finished Uncanny and faffed around for a little bit while I was watching qualifying for Formula E, I decided to go off script, off track, and ignore the remainder for the moment of my prepared TBR pile. There's still a couple of things on that. There's still the V.M. Burns novel that I have started. There's still the Gilded Ones. There's still the more of the Berries Berkani and Elizabeth A. Browning. But I'm tired. I'm tired, and frankly, it's been over a year. It's time for another Check Please reread. I think the last time I was rereading this was when I was in Melbourne for the Grand Prix last year, which was in March. So, yeah. And, you know, since then, I have completely fallen in love with hockeys. I understand a lot more about hockey. So definitely time for a Check Please reread. I'm already that much the way through this first volume, book 1, hockey. So, yes, this is definitely time. It's also a writer of colour. It's also a queer book, which if you've followed most of the rest of my channel, you know that I have goals each year for both of those things, queer characters and writers of colour. So yeah, it's a way to boost those numbers a little bit, read something I love, read something that's comforting, and that means that I can hopefully read through the next 2 hours and not fall apart. So yeah, might be time to bring out the snake lollies and the chocolate, I think. I have eaten a proper dinner. Well, when I say proper dinner, pesto, tomato and mozzarella flatbread from my favourite frozen pizza company from my freezer. But still, actual food. So I have eaten. So might be time to get on the sugar, I think. It's 10 o'clock. Readathon April 2024 is officially over. I'm quite pleased with what I managed. I ticked a lot of things off my currently reading pile, started a few things. Yeah, I read quite a lot given, you know, from 10 p.m. to 10 p.m. And still managed to sleep and watch motorsport and hockey. So apparently I'm great at multitasking. But anyway, so what was my final count? So I finished Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett, which was the last 173 pages. Yeah, the last 173 pages, which is more than half the book. So I did all of that last night. Then this morning I finished reading the novella Small Miracles by Olivia Atwater, which was 90% since I was at 10% when I started the readathon. So practically the whole thing. Then I read 13 pages of Elizabeth Barrett Browning poetry, which finished off book 1 of Aurelie, which is the really, really long 300-page poem. So still got plenty to read, but, you know, I did make some progress. Then I read the first chapter of No Friend But the Mountain by Behrouz Bookhani, which is my next uni book, and so that was also 12 pages, so yay. I then finished off the last hour and a bit of my audiobook that I was reading, which was Dead Famous by Greg Jenner, so that was a third thing completed from my currently reading pile. Then I ended up reading the entirety of Uncanny Magazine issue 52. So that's like half a dozen or so short stories, some essays, some poems, some interviews. So that got read in its entirety. So that's 4 things I completed at this point. And then I was tired, and so I decided to skip the rest of was on my official TBR, and I fully reread Check Please Book 1 #hockey, which is, as you know, one of my favourite graphic novels. So I finished up that, and then in the last 20 minutes of readathon, I read another 51 pages of Check Please Book 2 Sticks and Scones. So decent chunk of that in 20 minutes. So yeah, I'm quite pleased with what I read. There was also a little bit of fan fiction scattered around in there, and some fussing about with the internet. A lot of fussing about with the internet, let's face it. But yeah, so I finished 4 things. So I've gone from being a book behind schedule to, like, I think 3 books ahead of schedule or something like that. So there was that. 3 things that were already on my currently reading pile ticked off. There was a fair bit of diversity because Small Miracles was very queer. Of course, Check Please is queer, and it is author of colour as well. And Uncanny is always, like, it doesn't count in my stats as diverse, but it's always diverse because that's what Uncanny Magazine is all about. So yeah, it was a pretty good Dewey's 24-hour readathon for April 2024. I'll give more in-depth reviews of the books in my wrap-up after April, but that's me signing off for this readathon. I'll see you all again really soon. Bye.